So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Hello, and welcome to Palestine Today. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. We're a radio program dedicated to news about Palestine, and my co-host, British journalist Harry Fear. Hi, Harry. How are you doing?
Well, I'm very excited for today's show. It's going to be pretty, I hope, unique, actually, among our shows, because we have a very special guest. But I'll save that for a moment and let you introduce him.
Okay, sounds fantastic. Well, I just want to say that Palestine Today is dedicated to bringing you the unfiltered, that's right, the unfiltered truth about Palestine, where you will get nowhere else in the mainstream media. Nowhere else in the mainstream media. Because why? Because the mainstream media doesn't focus on Palestinians. We rarely get to hear their voice. We rarely get to hear their point of view. But here on KCAA, on Palestine Today, you can hear exactly from Palestinians. But today we have something unique. I think we've only had, one other Israeli. Well, we had an Arab Israeli. Well, an Arab or a Palestinian with an Israeli citizen. How do you say it, Harry? Rabia.
Actually, I lost you. No. We had an American Israeli on the show before, and we've also had a Palestinian Israeli or an Arab Israeli on the show before. But we haven't had a Israeli Jew on the show before, I believe.
Okay, and who we had on before was Miko Peled. He's not an American Israeli. He is an Israeli.
I always make this mistake. I'm corrected.
Okay, so it sounds, and then we had Rabia Aid, who has an Israeli citizenship, but he is an Arab, right? Am I confusing
Indeed.
the audience?
So today's guest is our second Jewish Israeli.
Exactly, and I'm so delighted to have him. In fact, Uri Avnery is someone I interviewed for the Huffington Post, and I'm delighted to have him. He is an Israeli peace activist, a journalist, and a writer, and he is actually famous for crossing the lines during the Battle of Beirut to meet Yasser Arafat on July 3rd, 1982. Uri was the first. It was the first time that a Palestinian. I'm tongue-tied. It was the first time that a Palestinian leader actually met with an Israeli, and Uri met with Yasser Arafat. Arafat was someone that Uri had met with, and Avery is also the founder of Gush Shalom, which is the peace movement in Israel. Mr. Avnery also served twice in the Knesset. So I'm delighted to have him. Welcome, Uri, to Palestine Today.
Thank you for having me.
Uri, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Can you hear us okay? I understand that it's a difficult line today.
Speak a little bit louder, please.
I will try my very best. Can you hear me okay, Uri?
I don't get you.
Oh, well, how is this? Harry, we're going to speak really, really loud. And the first question I want to ask you, Uri, is talk to me about the peace talks that are going on, that are taking place right now between Israel and Palestine, with Secretary of State John Kerry, being the negotiator in these peace talks. Shed some light on it.
They don't look very promising. Actually, the United States have imposed on both sides to come to these talks. Neither side seems very willing. Definitely not the Israeli government. But everybody has an interest in talks which can go on endlessly without leading anywhere. If America does not put its full weight behind it, it will not go anywhere.
If America does not put her full weight behind it, it will not go anywhere. Give me your overview of the conflict, of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Give me your thoughts about it on the most fundamental level. How do you see this conflict?
Well, this is by far the most complex conflict on earth. It started 130 years ago when the Jewish people tried, or part of the Jewish people tried to leave Europe because of growing anti-Semitism there, and went to create a Jewish state in Palestine, while at the same time in Palestine there was already an Arab-Palestinian nation, and since then we have a conflict between these two sides, each of which believes that the whole country belongs to it, that God has promised it to them, and after endless peace talks, there is already a kind of compromise agreement on the table. We all know the terms of peace, if people want peace, because every single item has been talked about for thousands of hours. So we know that in the end what will happen if there is peace, what will happen is that there will be two states in Palestine, side by side, a Jewish state of Israel and Arab state of Palestine. We know what the borders between the two will be. It will be the borders which existed already before the so-called Six-Day War in 1967. We call it the Green Line. This Green Line will form the basis of the border between the two states. With changes, there need to be changes, a kind of exchange of territory of equal size between the two sides, and so on and so forth. We all know this.
Do you still think that even with the facts on the ground in this day and age that a two-state solution will eventually end up being the solution?
There is no other solution. There's a lot of talk about other things, but the only real solution which is acceptable by two sides, which two sides can agree on, is this so-called two-states solution, which means that the Palestinian Arab nation will have a state of its own, an independent state, where it can be master of its own fate.
Uri, I want to ask you about the peace camp in Israel and about your organization, Gush Shalom. And I wondered, could you give us some detail or insight into the peace camp and how your organization lives in that context in Israel?
Actually, there are in Israel a great number of peace movements, of which we are one. There are dozens of organizations who do beautiful work in discovering what's happening in the occupied territories, telling people about bad things happening there. There are organizations which give legal assistance to people in the occupied territories, medical assistance, and so on and so forth. What we don't have at this moment is a political, a serious, big political party which is striving for peace. This is lacking, and this is really our job to create.
And why is that lacking? Why is there no political party in Israel striving for peace?
There are small parties, but there's no serious party which can even dream about assuming power. Power is firmly in the hand of a right-wing majority which does not want to give up the occupied territories. You see, the real problem for Israel, the real choice is to make peace and give up the occupied territories, or to keep on to the occupied territories and not have peace. This is basically a very simple question. The occupied territories constitute 22% of the original country of Palestine. Israel proper consists of 78% of the original historical country of Palestine. So the question is, do we give it up, or do we fill it up with a great number of Israeli settlements and actually leave the Palestinian people with nothing? This is the problem. On the other side, the problem is, if we go on with the present policy, which means keeping the whole country of Palestine under our rule, then what will happen is that very soon there will be a kind of apartheid regime in Palestine, because the Jews and the Arabs in all of Palestine, between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, historical Palestine, there are at least as many Arabs as there are Jews, and perhaps even a little bit more Arabs. And within 10 or 20 years, there will be a considerable Arab majority. In such a country, Israel can rule like the white people in South Africa, but there will be no democracy. So Israel stands before a very serious choice, and this is what we are discussing in Israel. What do we want? What do we actually want? Even if we ignore the Palestinians for a moment and only ask, what do we, the Jewish people in Palestine, what do we want? Before we decide that, it is useless to have peace talks.
Uri, could you give us some idea, some quantification of the size of those in Israel who are aware of issues like the 1948 Nakba, or about the Palestinian image or Palestinian understanding that this is an occupation, that the whole thing is a kind of occupation? I mean, what number of Israelis have that kind of insight?
Well, everybody knows that this is an occupation. We talk about it every day in all the media. This is called an occupation in Hebrew, and this is an occupation regime. You must recognize that there's a different law in the occupied territories than in Israel. There is a law in Israel. Israel is a democratic state, not less than the United States, but beyond the green line, a line which you don't see, which is not marked on the ground. But beyond the green line, there's a completely different regime. This is an occupation, which means a military dictatorship, where the inhabitants, the Palestinians, are deprived of all rights whatsoever, human rights and political rights. So these are two different units. The Israeli public is quite conscious of this. The question is that the reality is that most Israelis, great majority of Israelis, will tell you that we want peace, that for peace we are ready to give back the occupied territories, including East Jerusalem. But unfortunately, it is the Arabs, it is the Palestinians who do not want peace, who want to destroy the state of Israel and want to throw us into the sea. The great majority of Israelis are quite convinced of this. Why this is so, this is a long story of the history of the conflict, but at this moment this is so. And what we have to prove to our people in Israel is that peace is not just a good thing, but that peace is possible. That the other side, the Palestinian side, wants peace and is ready to make peace and is ready to accept the state of Israel. This is the real problem we are facing.
And it's interesting that you say that Israel is an occupying force. This is something that is never discussed in the mainstream media in America, in the West. It is never characterized. In fact, Israel is characterized as a democracy and our only ally, or one of our best allies in the Middle East. They never say Israel is an occupying force. I think that distinction is important. Would you agree?
Well, yes. So the American media are very curious thing. I think if any American newspaper or TV station or radio station would for one day publish what is written in the Hebrew, in the Israeli Hebrew newspapers or on radio and television, they would be called anti-Semitic and they would be boycotted. Because we in Israel we do have a democracy in Israel proper. And we discuss all these things daily. Everything that's happening in the occupied territories, including misdeeds by the army and whatever, is published in Israel broadly, widely, and discussed every day, every evening. So the situation in Israel is very different from the situation in America. I'm writing a weekly article about all these things. It's very widely distributed in Israel. I've been for 40 years editor-in-chief of a very important weekly magazine in Israel. Not one word of this could be published in America. I cannot go to America and make speeches in America.
Indeed. Uri, could you give us a bit of an insight and idea into how the efforts of denormalization in Palestine have affected your kind of work and those peace camps in Israel? Because I understand that in recent years particularly there's been a movement towards, well, all of Israel, the whole 1948 territories that Israel is on, that's an occupation, forgetting the two-state West Bank and etc., but the whole thing is an occupation, and that we're not going to talk to or touch any of it because it's all sort of morally contaminated. So that denormalization...
You mean the boycott of Israel?
Well, I guess you can say that might be one form of denormalization, but the general feeling that the whole thing is... The word is not important. It does not affect Israel. It's a very marginal thing in Israel itself. I think it's not a good thing. My organization, Gush Shalom, have declared a boycott of the Israeli settlements in the occupied territories. We are, since 15 years, we are boycotting the products of the settlements. We have very widely distributed lists of these products. We think that it's a good thing because we want people to have a clear distinction between Israel proper and the occupied territories. This has been taken up recently by the European Union, and they are now doing the same. As a reply, the Israeli government has enacted a law, the Knesset has enacted a law which makes it a criminal offense to advocate a boycott of the settlements. But boycott of the settlements is one thing. Boycott of Israel is something else. I think boycott of Israel
may have a negative effect on what's happening here, because what my friends and I want to do is to isolate the settlers, make a clear distinction between Israel in general and the settlements. While if you boycott Israel as such, including the peace camp, then what you do is you push the Israeli public into the arms of the settlers, of the right wing, of the people who do not want peace at all. So this is something which you people abroad have to consider.
Yeah, well, let me ask something right now, Harry. Gary, let me ask you this question. You say that you want to make this distinction between the settlements and Israel proper. However, you have a white right-wing government that the majority of Israelis have voted in. Do you understand? Can you see how this is confusing? In other words, the majority of Israelis voted for Netanyahu. Am I correct?
Yes, but this is not so easy. You know, we have a lot of parties in Israel. It's not like in the United States where you have 2 parties. We have 20 parties with widely different outlooks and political programs. And the Likud party got less than 20% of the Knesset. We have a government composed of a coalition of different parties, some of whom are extreme right-wing parties who want to annex all the occupied territories, but there are also in the government parties which are quite moderate, and who have come together in a political coalition because of political interests. So it's not as easy. As I said before, all public opinion polls show that the majority of Israel is ready to accept peace under the conditions which are now lying on the table. They don't believe that peace is possible. The idea that peace is not possible, that the Arab side will never accept us, this is the moving spirit of the right wing in Israel. Ordinary people in Israel who say we would like to have peace, but we cannot achieve peace because the other side doesn't want it, they vote for right-wing parties.
Uri, before we go to a break, I want to ask you a more abstract question. To what extent is Zionism the problem?
It is a problem and is not a problem, because it depends what you mean by Zionism. Zionism it's like socialism, like any other political ideology. It has many different faces. You can be a Zionist and want peace, and you can be a Zionist and reject peace. It depends what kind of Zionist you are. Basically, Zionism is a political creed which says that all the Jews in the world, including the American Jews, are a nation, and Israel belongs to that nation. I myself reject this ideology. I think Israel, the state of Israel, belongs to the citizens of Israel and to nobody else. But Zionism is very often quoted and misquoted to justify policies which have very little to do with what the original founders of the Zionist movement had in mind.
Okay,
it's more a red herring, I would say.
It's more of a red herring. I mean, you know, some people say that you're a liberal Zionist, and that's an oxymoron, but we're going to come back to that after the break. We're going to take a break right now. This is Palestine Today. Our guest is Uri Avnery. We're delighted to have him. He's the Israeli peace activist, and we'll take a break and be right back. We'll talk about this Zionist, what that means exactly. We'll be right back.
From your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Playgrounds for Palestine is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to upholding the Palestinian child's rights to play. This is a right enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We operate through a volunteer board and staff, the generosity of our supporters, and a lot of heart. To date, Playgrounds for Palestine has constructed 15 playgrounds in Palestine, as well as refugee camps in Lebanon and Syria. To contribute to this most worldly cause, please go to our website at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org or send a check to Playgrounds for Palestine, P.O. Box 559, Yardley, Pennsylvania 19067 at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org. Are you fascinated by the Middle East, but worried that U.S. foreign policy may lead yet to another war? Do you care about civil rights? For the past 30 years, the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs has brought its readers the real news, minus the corporate media spin. Read about Palestinians trying to survive the world's largest occupation. Learn how your hard-earned tax dollars fund that illegal occupation. Find out how much your members of Congress has received from pro-Israel PACs, and much, much more. Visit the Washington Report's website, www.wrmea.org, or call 888-881-5861 to request a free sample copy. Better yet, subscribe. It's only $29 for 9 issues. Mention Palestine today and get a bonus gift.
PDM Web Solutions is the place to go for all of your web design and online marketing needs. And we're located right by you in Riverside. At PDM Web Solutions, we build websites with an emphasis on business marketing, upgradability, and easy editing that grow with your business and won't leave you boxed in. And now we're offering an extra special. Mention the Kathleen Wells Show or Palestine Today when you come to PDM Web Solutions, and we'll give you a 10% discount. That's right, a 10% discount. Check out our website at pdmwebsolutions.com or give us a call at area code 951-543-7608. You can check out Kathleen's website to see our work, too. That's PDM Web Solutions at area code 951-543-7608. Also, like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/PDM Web Solutions. Reliable, fast, and creative. That's PDM Web Solutions.
Hi, this is Kathleen Wells, host of Palestine Today, which airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on KCAA. And guess what? My co-host, Harry Fear, and I bring you the unfiltered truth. That's right, the unfiltered truth regarding Israel and Palestine every Saturday. You will hear from Palestinians directly. You will get their perspective and point of view directly right here on Palestine Today. However, to keep the show on the air, we need you. We need you to help us make this happen. So please consider making a donation so that Palestine Today can stay on the air. Go to my website, thekathleenwellsshow.com, click on the PayPal button, and all donations go directly to the production cost of keeping Palestine Today on air. No longer do you have to rely on the mainstream media spin about this region. No longer do you have to wonder, why is U.S. policy partial or slanted towards the Israel perspective? And no longer will you sit perplexed, wondering why U.S. soldiers are consistently deployed to this region. Harry and I are here to bring you the news that you will get nowhere else in the mainstream media. Palestine Today. We need you to keep the show on the air. Donate at thekathleenwellsshow.com.
Donate right now at thekathleenwellsshow.com. That's thekathleenwellsshow.com. Donate to Palestine Today. Click on PayPal. Donate right now at thekathleenwellsshow.com.
Real talk for real people, right here in the Inland Empire. We are 1050 AM, KCAA.
So many years of catastrophe, more than 6 million refugees. It could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Welcome back. This is Palestine Today. I'm Kathleen Wells, your host, and my co-host is Harry Fear. and our guest is Uri Avnery, and I'm delighted to have you, Mr. Avnery. I want to have you back on because we have to examine these issues more fully, I believe. But one of the things I want to switch to right now, I said I was going to talk about Zionism, but let's have you back to discuss that more fully. But I want to talk about Syria because currently warships are in the Mediterranean, and they have cruise missiles, and they're ready to launch a strike on Syria. I read your piece. Initially, I was going to talk about Egypt because we discussed that last week, and I read your piece, Cry, Beloved Country. But now, just the other day, I read your piece, yesterday, in fact, Poor Obama. So let's talk about Syria. Can you give me your perspective about the fact that Obama wants to launch a strike on Syria? What will that mean for the region in general?
Well, I think it will have very little effect on events because in Syria you have a terrible civil war which has become now a war between different religious sects. As you know, Bashar al-Assad belongs to the Alawite sect, which is a sect which is on the fringes of Islam. Some people say it's Islam and somebody say that it's not. They are called Alawite because they believe in Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, and so on and so forth. Anyhow, there's a civil war, a very, very, very terrible one, not unlike the American Civil War, with its hundreds of millions of people dead. And now America never knew quite how to interfere, if to interfere, how to interfere. Now Obama has talked himself into a corner because he has said that the use of chemical weapons is a red line which cannot be crossed. It seems that it has been crossed. It's not clear by whom. It's definitely, as far as I know, not clear that Assad has used it and not his opponents. But whatever, America is now seems to be on the verge of attacking the Assad regime. This is completely foolish, not to say idiotic, because the interest of the American government is the exact opposite. The American, if Assad falls, if the Assad regime breaks down, it is almost certain that elements connected with Al-Qaeda, the extreme Islamist elements, will take over Syria. They are the strongest force in the opposition to Assad. As far as I understand the American policy, this is the last thing they are wishing for. So they are on the one side interested in supporting the Assad regime, and on the other side attacking the Assad regime and helping his enemies. There's no logic in it at all.
There's no logic in it at all. And let me bring to the conversation Dr. Elaine Hagopian, who is a Middle East expert. So let's bring her on the line and get her take on this. Hi, Dr. Hagopian. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Kathleen.
So give us your thoughts about this idea of the U.S., about President Obama. In fact, you just informed me that President Obama gave a talk recently. I missed it because I'm here in the studio. Can you update us as to that talk?
Yes, it's interesting. He really has postponed. In effect, he has postponed a strike on Syria, which is a good thing. And the way that he did it was to start out by saying that he has decided that it is important to have a military, surgical, not to go too far, strike on Syria, not for regime change, but as a warning to all those in the region that chemical weapons and other kinds of obnoxious weapons won't be tolerated. And then he said he has also made a second decision. And that second decision is that he has decided that the representatives of the American people should be consulted, and that he will await Congress. He is going to take it to Congress and try to make the case. And he will wait till they come back, which is not till September 9th, and have them discuss and debate it, and to look at the so-called evidence and to see if anything further comes in from the UN, though they cannot tell from just saying there was chemical use who did it. Nobody knows really who did it. And so he has now really, in essence, postponed this. And he may find a face-saving way not to do it. The world is not behind him. The American people are not behind him. And the Arab League, while Saudi Arabia wants it, we know there is a kind of agreement between Saudi Arabia and I would speculate Israel as well, and I can elaborate as to why that is so, though they have different goals, that they would like to have this strike, not so much to remove Assad in the Israeli case, but to, in a sense, develop a kind of equalization of power between the opposition and Assad, and maybe have that stalemate go on for a while, or if necessary, bring two weakened powers to Geneva, and with Russian support, and the Russians really are concerned about an American strike, that they come to some sort of a deal that is not satisfactory to either party, the opponents or the regime. So for now, it is postponed. If you want me to discuss my reasons for talking about Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Well, Professor Hagopian, it's Harry Fear here. Thank you so much for coming on Palestine Today. My question is, in the last few days, various commentators, not most, but several, have made comments suggesting that Barack Obama doesn't really want to intervene, and that it's the almost foolish red line comment he made months ago, which he's now having to keep face with by acting with muscle and potentially intervening. However, I see contrarily that there's really quite a lot of evidence to suggest that he does want to intervene, because he sees Syria, or the Assad regime rather, as an enemy of the United States. So could you give us your insight there and perhaps draw some balance?
Right. I personally think that in many ways Obama doesn't want to have this strike. I think when he made that red line statement, he was under a lot of pressure, both with domestically and from people like McCain and others, to do something about Syria. And he was under pressure also with regard to Iran, that somehow this alliance, which they've been trying to break for years, between Iran and Syria and Hezbollah, that while they tried with sanctions to get Iran weakened, while the Israelis tried to defeat Hezbollah, none of those pieces in the dominoes actually had the domino effect. And the situation in Syria, as the reform movement started, immediately brought in all these outside clients, outside powers, and they saw an opportunity somehow. They thought they were going to finally break the alliance through Syria. Now, on the other hand, there are those who would say that for Iran, while they support Syria, that Iraq is more important, that they have a good thing going with Iraq now that they have a Shiite government and lots of economic activity and various kinds of strategic things going on. I think Iran has actually a vital interest in Syria, and how far it will go to protect it is something else. Now, on the other hand, the American government, and Obama as well, has wanted to see this alliance broken. and he was always looking for something short of military, especially as the Israelis were prodding him and to do something about Iran, allow a bombing, surgical or otherwise, and Obama kept holding it off. I should add here and remind people that in 1996, Mr. Netanyahu came and addressed our Congress, and in that address he talked about the fact that the time is late and that something must be done about Iran. That was in 1996. He's been beating that drum for ages, and we know that. But he does, the Israelis and Netanyahu in particular, does see Iran as a problem. This is why the Israelis in some ways would like to see an attack in Syria, not one that removes Assad because it would be chaos. They're afraid of the Muslim Brothers and the jihadists in particular. They have enough of them on the Sinai, but as a kind of warning to Iran, kind of weakening Iran if Iran thinks it's going to come to its help, but laying back and not playing an obvious role. Let's face it, the only ones that have come out in favor of the U.S. potential action was Saudi Arabia, Turkey, France, and tacitly Israel. And these are the people. Saudi Arabia.
Professor, we have to go to a break, but after the break I'd like to discuss with you the likelihood of congressional approval, the likelihood that the United States actually will make some kind of, albeit limited attack, given the likelihood of likely reprisal attacks against Israel or by the Hezbollah or by Iran. But now we have to go to a break.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we'll come back. I think we dropped the line with Uri. I'm going to try and get him back. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
More than 6 million refugees, it could be you and your family, forced from your home and your history.
We are the people, and this is our time. Stand up, sing out for Palestine.
Playgrounds for Palestine is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization dedicated to upholding the Palestinians' child's rights to play. This is a right enshrined in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We operate through a volunteer board and staff, the generosity of our supporters, and a lot of heart. To date, Playgrounds for Palestine has constructed 15 playgrounds in Palestine, as well as refugee camps in Lebanon and Syria. To contribute to this most worldly cause, please go to our website at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org or send a check to Playgrounds for Palestine, P.O. Box 559, Yardley, Pennsylvania 19067 at www.playgroundsforpalestine.org. Are you fascinated by the Middle East, but worried that U.S. foreign policy may lead yet to another war? Do you care about civil rights? For the past 30 years, the Washington Report on Middle East Affairs has brought its readers the real news, minus the corporate media spin. Read about Palestinians trying to survive the world's largest occupation. Learn how your hard-earned tax dollars fund that illegal occupation. Find out how much your members of Congress has received from pro-Israel PACs, and much, much more. Visit the Washington Report's website, www.wrmea.org, or call 888-881-5861 to request a free sample copy. Better yet, subscribe. It's only $29 for 9 issues. Mention Palestine today and get a bonus gift.
PDM Web Solutions is the place to go for all of your web design and online marketing needs. And we're located right by you in Riverside. At PDM Web Solutions, we build websites with an emphasis on business marketing, upgradability, and easy editing that grow with your business and won't leave you boxed in. And now we're offering an extra special. Mention the Kathleen Wells Show or Palestine Today when you come to PDM Web Solutions, and we'll give you a 10% discount. That's right, a 10% discount. Check out our website at pdmwebsolutions.com or give us a call at area code 951-543-7608. You can check out Kathleen's website to see our work, too. That's PDM Web Solutions at area code 951-543-7608. Also, like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/PDM Web Solutions. Reliable, fast, and creative. That's PDM Web Solutions.
Hi, this is Kathleen Wells, host of Palestine Today, which airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on KCAA. And guess what? My co-host, Harry Fear, and I bring you the unfiltered truth. That's right, the unfiltered truth regarding Israel and Palestine every Saturday. You will hear from Palestinians directly. You will get their perspective and point of view directly right here on Palestine Today. However, to keep the show on the air, we need you. We need you to help us make this happen. So please consider making a donation so that Palestine Today can stay on the air. Go to my website, thekathleenwellsshow.com, click on the PayPal button, and all donations go directly to the production cost of keeping Palestine Today on air. No longer do you have to rely on the mainstream media spin about this region. No longer do you have to wonder, why is U.S. policy partial or slanted towards the Israel perspective? And no longer will you sit perplexed, wondering why U.S. soldiers are consistently deployed to this region. Harry and I are here to bring you the news that you will get nowhere else in the mainstream media. Palestine Today. We need you to keep the show on the air. Donate at thekathleenwellsshow.com.
Donate right now at thekathleenwellsshow.com. That's thekathleenwellsshow.com. Donate to Palestine Today. Click on PayPal. Donate right now at thekathleenwellsshow.com.
Miss something today, yesterday, last week? Check out our podcasts at www.kcaaradio.com. AM 1050 KCAA. We leave no listener behind.
So many years of catastrophe.
Okay, welcome back to Palestine Today. Okay, Harry, did you want to ask Uri a question about President Obama's recent speech?
Uri, I did. I wanted to go straight back to you in the last 10 minutes of the show and just say it now appears that President Obama will ask for congressional approval before any even limited strike on Syria. But with the risk that Syria or the Hezbollah or Iran may hurt Israel if any strike takes place from the United States against Syria, what's the likelihood that the Congress, who has itself owned by the pro-Israel lobby in the United States, what's the chance that they will approve such an intervention? Uri, the question is for you. Are you still there?
I'm here, yes.
Uri, the question, I think you didn't catch it, was what's the likelihood of the Congress approving any even limited intervention in Syria, given the chance that there may be retaliation against Israel if such a strike takes place?
Well, Israel has no interest whatsoever in an American action against Syria. First of all, because President Bashar Assad has been cooperating with Israel for many years. Israel's border with Syria is the quietest border Israel has ever had. There has not been one single incident on the border between Israel and Syria. So and if Assad falls, probably an extremist Islamist regime will take over, and Israel has no interest in that whatsoever. So while Israeli government would probably always be happy if the United States hits some Arabs, I don't think anyone in Israel has an interest in American intervention in Syria.
Interesting. And the same question to you, Professor Hagopian. I mean, it is a strange balance, isn't it, between the propensity to intervene in Syria and the propensity to protect Israel by not doing anything. How do you see that balance?
I understand Uri's point. However, Israel does have an interest there, as I said before, and as the President has said, if he strikes, it is not for regime change. They really want to keep Assad. He is, in a sense, a guarantee for Israel. They'd like to make him more compliant. They'd like to break that alliance with Iran and Hezbollah, but they would like him to be more pro-West, if you will, and much more cooperative with Israel. The real target in this whole thing is Iran, and this is why Israel has an interest, and at the same time is doing a balancing act of not wanting to see Bashar Assad go. We don't even know if Bashar Assad actually even did this, but I personally think that the U.S. and Obama are looking for a way out of doing this, looking for a possible way. Now, if the Congress, which could turn it down, it's not guaranteed they will agree to it. The Tea Party has already been against it. Rand Paul has come out and said in his talks with U.S. officials that the U.S. is looking for a stalemate to equalize the parties. Should they ever go to Geneva, they would be able to get more terms out of Assad, not to let him go there as strong as he was before this incident. And while a lot of the Republicans, like McCain, are goading the president, there are other Republicans who are not interested in this action. So I'm not sure, especially given that there is no real international support for it, that it will happen. But then they have to find a face-saving device, both for the president and for the so-called credibility of the U.S. And that may be to try to work with Russia through the UN Security Council in terms of talking about controlling Syria's chemical weapons. Not again implying that the regime did this or the opponents did this or whatever, but whoever did it, the chemical weapons have been made the issue. And we know that Putin has been in touch with the president, and they want, and has asked him not to do this, to allow some time to talk. So
indeed, Professor, I want to just, we've only got a couple of minutes left live, but I wanted to just ask you, given what's happened at the British Parliament with parliamentarians, or a majority of those that voted, saying no to any kind of intervention, taking that perhaps as an indicator that there may be a change, that Congress may say, no, we don't want another intervention, or to what extent is there an appetite in the US population, and then to what extent will that be democratically converted and reflected in a congressional vote? Could you touch on that?
Well, the American people don't want this war. Now, one of the first polls that came out when it was broached said that only 9% agreed to a strike on Israel. A more recent poll indicates that has gone up to somewhere like 40%. I don't know if you can take these polls seriously, but in any case, there really doesn't seem to be an appetite. People are really fed up with war in the U.S. They really just see the dangers of getting embroiled in this whole business again, and they don't want it, and they really don't feel that they have been given a credible reason for this. I mean, when Kerry got up yesterday, he said, well, this has implications for Iran and North Korea and Hezbollah and our national interests. I mean, basically he's saying we're sending a warning to all these people, not only not to use chemical weapons, but not to deal with development of nuclear capability in the case of North Korea and Iran. On the other hand, my own thinking is that such strikes would probably encourage them to go ahead with a nuclear development, even though I do not believe they are now doing that, though they have the capacity to do that.
Okay, you know what? We only have one more minute left. I want to say to Uri Avnery, thank you. Uri, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very, very much. You think there won't be any peace talks. Is that the final thought you'd like to leave us with? There will not be peace, I should say. Is that the final thought?
I didn't say so, but I don't think that much will come out of the present round of talks.
You don't think much will come out of it, and there will be more settlement building. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but I also believe that in the end we shall have peace. There will be a Palestinian state, and there will be peace between the state of Palestine and the state of Israel.
When? When is the question?
Pardon?
When is the question?
When? Well, in my very long life, I've known that you can answer all questions except the question when.
Exactly. Well,
That's the perfect note to end the show on. Thank you so much to both of our guests.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Uri, I want to have you on again. Thank you, Professor Hagopian. We appreciate your time. That was Palestine Today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 a.m., the station that leaves no listener behind.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Chris Earl Phillips. For this afternoon, sunny and a high of 98. Tonight, partly cloudy, low around 70. Tomorrow, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Some of the storms could produce heavy rainfall. Mostly sunny and a high of 94. Tomorrow night, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Again, some of the storms producing heavy rainfall. Mostly cloudy, low around 68. On Monday, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Some of the storms producing frequent lightning and heavy rain. Mostly sunny and a high near 94. That's your weather forecast for this hour from the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050, KCAA.
This is the KCAA Community Calendar. Miracle Deliverance Full Gospel Church in San Bernardino presents a free food giveaway Friday, September 6th. From 11 to 1 p.m., the church is located at 3358 Northeast Street in San Bernardino. For more information, call 496-5112. The Loma Linda Chamber of Commerce presents their 50th Annual Community Parade. We Are 50-something, Sunday, October 20th. The parade will take place at 10 a.m. on the corner of Barton Road and Anderson Street. If you need additional information, please call the Chamber office at 799-2828. And that's your KCAA Community Calendar.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country.
Horses like having a daily routine. When you take them to shows, your ability to manage the disruptions can make a difference in the animal's performance. Pay special attention to water intake. It should be increased from what your horses normally drink because of the added temperature and lack of air movement in many